The Year 9 Season 4.2 Designer's Notes for Operation Collision Point just came out, and in this video, we're going to dive through every single change, every single matrix that they have on this page, really just explain it all, give my thoughts on the whole thing, and of course, I'll want to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments as well. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this. So just starting off, the normal stuff, the win delta versus presence. Let me actually open this in a new tab. Okay, so this is on PC for attackers. Not really a whole lot that I'm surprised about here. We have Ashe closing in on 60% pick rate, obviously high win rate as well. Ace, best heart breacher in the game, makes sense. Buck, this is kind of an interesting one to me. We'll come back to Buck a little bit later. I actually already read through some of the changes, so just a little foreshadowing. Dokkaebi, of course, I mean, one of the best operators in the game. Everything else just makes sense. It's, actually speaking of sense is still very low. Very interesting to me. I would think that after, there was a change to sense that the pick rate would at least go up regardless of if the operator got better or not. People would pick that operator more, but it doesn't look like that is happening here. It seems like sense is still down in the depths here. A little bit surprised about Zero because, I feel like he's just so powerful, having 6 Argus cams and just all around great loadout. But everything else here kind of just makes sense. We won't, spend too much time looking at it. This is the console one. Everything is just about the exact same. Not really any outliers here. So now we'll take a look at the defenders. As you can see, this is on PC. So Doc is actually gone down a whole lot. I believe he was closer up to like the 60% on PC before this. And so now he's down to 50%, which is a bit weird. There haven't been any direct changes to him, so I'm not sure why that is, but he's still, going pretty strong over here. That's not to say that he's, getting picked a small percentage of the time, because 50% is still ridiculous. And then Legion is moving up pretty far as well. All of these operators make sense. These are some of the best operators in the entire game, and down here, these are some of the worst. Everything here pretty much makes sense. This is the first time I'm really looking at the chart here. I don't know why Scopos' icon is so small over here. That's kind of funny, but yeah, console looks like, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. It's just crazy to have any operator be this high up. Obviously, PC is not as much, but on console, you have like the attachment crutch, I guess, like the ACOG crutch. So I guess it's just a lot more drastic on console. Just 70% for Doc, which is crazy. Legion's a little bit further down there. Then we have Vigil. Yeah, nothing's all too crazy. It's a little bit more jumbled down here with console. I guess that makes sense considering it's not quite as spread out as PC. 70% of people picking Doc. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, so this is pretty much expected. Nothing is too crazy here. Capcan is just so high up on both PC and console. But I believe that comes back with the change later on as we continue to scroll through here. The ban rate, won't spend too much time on this. Blackbeard, that is pretty interesting to me. I didn't think he'd be number 1. I thought Dokkaebi would still be number 1, but makes sense. You got Ying down there as well. And then console, pretty different. Jackal is still the number 1 ban, which I just think is so dumb. I'm a console player, and Jackal is just really not all that great anymore. He's still good, but he's not the number 1 most banned operator, or at least he shouldn't be. And then we have defenders ban rate. Console, of course, Capcan's always going to be high up on there. Us console players have no idea how to play against Capcans, I guess. Fenrir is the number 1 for PC. Makes sense. There's always some disparity, some differences between PC and console, so nothing really is sticking out to me too much. But now we're going to get into some of the fun stuff, some of the changes that Ubisoft is making based on these charts that we just went through. First, we have Buck. So pretty much what they are doing, they have very long explanations for things, but they're just removing the hard breach charge and they're giving him the Claymore. This is the right move. And I know that Buck is a very beloved operator, but you can't deny he's a little bit too powerful. Being able to have the soft breach component as well as the hard breach component is just too much. And then at the same time, he has one of the best, loadouts in the game. Just all around one of the best attackers in the game, I believe. So this is probably a little bit overdue. I don't think anyone's going to complain about this. I'm actually pretty happy that they are making this change. So moving on to the next one, Capcan, like how I said, he has a bit of a change coming here. They are removing his nitro cell and they're giving him barbed wire. So I don't know. I always hate it when operators get their nitro cell removed, because I'll go back in and play and I'll forget that they don't have a nitro cell. And so then I'll be like sitting there behind a breach with Capcan, you know, getting ready to throw my nitro cell or whatever it may be. And then I accidentally pull out barbed wire instead because I forgot. So I don't love it when they take away C4s, but it is a major part of what makes some defenders so overpicked. So I get why they're doing it. This is going to bring his pick rate down a lot more. Actually, it's really not even his pick rate that's, you know, so high. It's more his win rate that's so high. So it's definitely interesting. I thought maybe they'd take away some of his EDDs or something like that. But, you know, this probably isn't, you know, life or death for Capcan. It's not like this is going to change everything, but I think people will definitely choose him less now, including me. Legion, so they believe that Legion currently exerts too much map control too quickly. I think this is definitely right. I mean, Legion's one of my favorites in the game, one of the best abilities, one of the best loadouts, and I mean, he's so good. And so I think that this is probably the right call. He's a little bit too good. They are reducing his max goo mines to 8 mines. It was originally 9. Doesn't really change a whole lot, considering I feel like most of the time I never even put down all of the goo mines in a round. And then actually looking at the goo mine, what they are changing, they are increasing it to 30-second refill time instead of 25. That's a little bit harsh. I know that 5 seconds, you know, in the grand scheme of things isn't all that much, but an additional 5 seconds for each refill is kind of a lot. So this is definitely going to take a big hit to Legion. If you were to ask me, like if I had to see into the crystal ball, I would say that Legion's pick rate is probably going to go down by over 10%. I think this is at least a good enough starting point for a Legion nerf. Now, this is not someone who I thought was going to pop up in designer's notes. We got Oryx getting a buff. So pretty much they are trying to just make his ability a little bit better. So the main idea here, they are reducing all of his times after dashing. So the weapon recovery time after dashing overall is just reduced to 0.2 seconds from 0.5. After dashing into a wall, it's to 0.3 from 0.5. And then after dashing against an enemy, it's to 0.1 after 0.5. That's the biggest change here for me. Imagine now you're able to go, you know, like Rima dash into a Blackbeard or a Monty, and you're literally able to take out your primary weapon 5 times faster than you were able to before, which is just massive. These are the things that really matter. I think that might be a little bit of an overcorrection if you ask me, but I don't know. This is interesting to me. I'm glad to see Oryx is getting some love at least, but we'll go ahead and move on to the next one, which is going to be Ram. I mean, this makes sense. I saw it coming. Ram's been one of the best operators in the game for a long time now. One of the best. I'm not saying she's the best, but they are taking away her secondary shotgun. Again, these are like the tiny things that aren't going to, you know, be life or death for Ram. You know, people are still going to choose her, but, you know, it's a change nonetheless. Now, what I am most excited for, we are finally getting a Sledge buff. It's time, finally. It's been years. My boy has been forgotten about forever now. Pretty much the main idea here. They are boosting his speed. They are bringing him up to a 2 speed. Obviously, this brings him down to a 2 armor. I think this is great for him. You know, it's hard because, like, I remember playing as Sledge. I don't know, I haven't really played him much this season, but last season I would go to get vertical control and I'd use my breaching hammer and I'd, you know, destroy the floor beneath me, and then I would try to run away when, like, if a defender started shooting at me or there was a C4, and it's like I literally just could not get away quick enough. Like, I just was not fast enough because Sledge is just so, he's a chunky boy. So I'm glad to see that he's getting a little bit of a buff here. You can't really do much else to him. I saw some very interesting concepts of how you could rework his sledgehammer, and it's like, come on, it's Sledge. You're not going to rework a sledgehammer. So I think this is probably the best thing for right now. I think this will definitely make him a lot more desirable. All right, we got some weapon balancing here, some slug shotgun changes. So in case you don't know, this is basically just a BOSG change. Pretty much the damage drop off is getting massively nerfed. They are reducing it to 15 meters for the start of the drop off, and then the end is going to be reduced to 25 meters. The damage at maximum range is reduced to 60% from 70, and then the destruction range is also reduced. I'm not sure exactly how much this is going to change. I think the BOSG is naturally a pretty powerful weapon. So I don't know exactly what this is going to do. I think it's going to definitely, I mean, obviously it's going to make it worse because it's, you know, statistically it is worse. But I think in a lot of situations, it's still going to be pretty good. So this not really, it's not like they're nerfing it into the ground. So I'm glad to see there isn't really an overcorrection here. It's definitely going to be worse, don't get me wrong. But in a lot of situations where you're not shooting people from halfway across the map or down a long hallway, it's probably going to still be pretty good. This also does affect the ACS-12, TCSG, and then the 44 Vendetta. We'll go ahead and keep on moving on. The G36C, again, a pretty interesting one. They're pretty much just talking about how Ayana is, you know, chosen with the G36C 40% of the rounds, Ash only 2%, which makes sense. Obviously, everyone's going to want to use the R4C. So they're giving the G36C a nice little recoil buff. You always love to see these, especially those people out there that don't have good aim. G36C was already a pretty friendly gun, so it's going to be a little bit more friendly now. So they are pretty much reducing the recoil on both vertical and horizontal axis. I think this is going to be a fine change. I don't think this is really going to change all that much. So, and then we have the TCSG-12. They're increasing the damage to 75 from 63. This is really interesting to me. I didn't really see this coming. I'm not sure what's prompted them to do this. So they are increasing it pretty good amount. From 63 to 75 is a lot. So yeah, that's pretty much the entire designer notes. Please let me know what your guys' thoughts are down in the comments about anything that we talked about in this video or anything you wish to have seen in these designer notes. I know there are a couple things that got left out, but yeah, it looks like year 10 is pretty much on the horizon now, not too far away. So you can also let me know what you're hoping gets changed in year 10. And besides for that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.